Hello everybody, Master Mason Michael here. I'm heading out in a few minutes to Scottish Rite. I'm the Venerable Master this year, our monthly meeting, the catered dinner. It's always nice. I had a couple of thoughts that I jotted down the other night that might be an article, might find its way into the newsletter, and just wanted to share it with you, in case it has any value to any of you. And so I'm going to be mainly referring to my notes because it'd be easier than trying to say it off the cuff. Not that I couldn't, but it'll read a little smoother and faster. Freemasonry, and most especially the Scottish Rite, directs our attention to the perennial philosophy of which countless sages throughout history have described. At the Blue Lodge level, few Masons are aware of it, and fewer have interest or even exposure to the concept to want to pursue it. But in the Scottish Rite, many, especially Albert Pike, felt that this is the core secret of Freemasonry that the Scottish Rite tries to teach through the parables of our degrees. Reflecting on this concept, I found that in my life I had wanted, but then discovered I already had everything. I searched in time and then discovered there was nothing to search for, as it was already all here right now. I looked for the I inside of me and then realized there is no I, nor an inside, and nothing to be found. At the core, there is no one to desire. Rather, God, in infinite allness, isness, expresses as arising, and we claim it and give it a name. Those names are everything we desire, hate, and opine on of any value whatsoever. If one looks honestly, with integrity, we don't find anyone inside us at all. Who wants? Who hates? Who loves? Who desires? Everywhere I look, I only find choices that I have identified with. The I develops from attachment to these choices, but with honest, sincere looking, one realizes that everything arises by the grace of God, and there's no actual me the way I had thought there was. And don't get me wrong, I have beliefs that sound like a Michael. I have desires that sound like a Michael. But at the core, the real truth is all those things exist only by attachment and arise purely and only by the grace of God, or in Masonry we refer to the great creator, the great architect. Here I'll mainly use the term God, but there are many terms that could equally be used. Everything arises as perfection, right now, to no one. God's love is infinite and expresses without care or identity. The mystery of human consciousness is that it misidentifies. There is reality. It is present right now. But as the grace of the eternal presence expresses in boundless eternal love, we identify with the movement and believe it to be a me as in a separate I. This form of Michael exists by God's grace alone. That is the inimitable constant truth. There is only one thing. Please look right now. There is something going on right now that is captivating, eternal, beautiful, and perfect. As soon as this one thing becomes a moment, it is lost, misidentified. But not actually lost, it's actually there right now. Everything arises from it. None of this language is going to help you. Descriptions are not the territory. Just please look right now. Don't wait. It is not to be found later or after lengthy spiritual practice. It is not to be found when you find the right teacher. It is not to be found from prayer or meditation. Do not try to do it. There is no one to do this trying thing, nor is there a time within which this trying occurs. Trying ignores that which is eternally expressing and calls it trying. Nor is what I am talking about supplication, though it is selfless. You cannot somehow squash the self, or ignore it, or move beyond it. This thing I'm talking about merely is right now. What I mean is everything is perfect just as it is, right now, in this very moment. And in this moment, there is no self, but rather merely, simply, the expression of the selfless self. To say God's grace expresses is not accurate. Move prior to the concept of God. Do not pray for God's intervention. Do not pray for God's eternal, bountiful, glorious grace, though it is all those things. Do not meditate a path to realization, All that effort suggests a separate praying entity that does not actually exist and will prevent awareness of the one thing, the originating state. Please, I beg you, just move prior to prayer. Move prior to the seeker. Move prior to even God. And please understand this. Everything that has been written by this entity, Michael, is language from an entity that can never be aware of God. It does not, cannot encapsulate that which you can discover right now by merely moving prior. Have faith that what I am saying is truth, and then look for yourself. Eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. The inside and outside are the same. By looking, what I mean is a movement, as there is no one to look, nor is there anything to be found. So what I'm talking about is a movement prior, which moves you into the now, not as anyone, nor as anything. Have faith that what you are hearing is the truth about God's immediate, loving, patient, eternal presence. And move prior, effortlessly. Any effort will fail. There is no color associated with God's bounty, for that would suggest there is someone to discern the color. God's love expresses right now as all, and foolishly, magically somehow, you have misidentified. You have forgotten that which is before you all along. Not something to be found, because it was never lost, merely misidentified. Not that this misidentification is without good purpose and is necessary. We have to identify in order to survive in the material world. Realization of the now does not negate all that you are, nor does it connote any negative to this misidentification. All that you are, after all, is God's immutable, constant loving grace. If God's presence fills your heart with joy, you're not there. That's not what I'm talking about. If God in your life saved you and you want to sing praises, you're not there. That's not what I'm talking about. Move prior. Every thought that arises, move prior. Every joy you feel of God's presence, move prior. Every moment that arises, move prior. And do it right now, without any effort at all. Just do it. Right now. Eyes open or closed. Doing whatever you are doing. Just simply move prior. Not in history. Not like a memory of what came before. Rather, move prior to everything that arises. When you do, you will know the bliss of God's eternal, glorious, bountiful, limitless presence. This teaching is not about stopping thought, though in truth no thought actually ever occurs to anyone. If you honestly look at it, it is a ludicrous proposition to believe that thoughts can arise to anyone. That is not to say that you are not experiencing thoughts, but just move prior to thought and discover what I'm talking about. Again, though, Michael has no idea what any of this means. Rather, everything that comes out of my mouth, and typing fingers in this case, is the immutable, unchanging, immediate expression of God's divine grace. Just do it for me, please. I do so love you, by which I mean you are so beautifully perfect. We are actually all one. There is no one here talking, nor are you out there listening. Just look. Can you find a looker? If not, and I assure you, you cannot find a looker, then merely, simply, effortlessly move prior to the looker. A good man has compassion, and if he extends compassion to others, he must first have compassion for himself. Who is this person within him that he imagines his compassion for? If you have the capacity to feel proud for others, you must first have the capacity to feel proud for yourself. Are there two of you? One of you to feel proud of the other one of you? Look for this you that feels proud. The whole concept should feel ridiculous. Then simply move prior to those concepts. What's the whole point of this thought exercise anyway? You've got what you want and need in life. You're loved and provided for, either by the work you do or the work you did. You attend a church, satsang and or lodge, tithe a percentage of your wealth to support them. Yet, despite feeling fulfilled in these things, you intuit that you are missing something, something of critical importance, something that is of critical importance to your life and your afterlife. This something is actually right before you this minute, but you are missing it. Hence this uneasy feeling that you are missing out on something. You are. You have likely watched videos or attended satsang, have attended church, and certainly experienced the Scottish Rite degrees, so if you are a Scottish Rite Mason. And this was written primarily for Scottish Rite Masons. But nothing has worked, and now you have me, only to have me tell you that I am not a teacher, nor even a Michael. I tell you not to pray or meditate, but nothing else you have done so far has worked. You still feel a hole in your soul, you sense that something is missing. You are pretty sure you are not right now experiencing an intimate connection with God, the great Creator. Nothing else you have done has worked, and I'm telling you why. It is quite simply because the you that has a hole, the you that seeks and prays, is a phantasm. It does not exist in the way you think it does. Clearly you do exist. This teaching is not via negativa, or neti-neti, not this, not that, although that is a useful technique. Rather, this teaching is one of moving prior to everything that arises in your awareness, effortlessly, right now. If there is any effort put forth, then there is someone doing it, and you will never self-realize. You might ask, does Michael exist in this ever-present state? I have seen him cry, be angry, and rejoice over life and love. The answer is resoundingly no, for the entity you experience as Michael is illusory, a phantasm, an illusion. The entity Michael must perform in the world. Michael must seek money, love, and respect in order for the form to survive. But there is no person inside attached. There is no one to say, I am so proud of myself, because the illusion of attached self has vanished. So Michael is not self-realized. The concept of anyone self-realizing is patently absurd. Yet there is a realization available, but it's inverted from what you think. Rather than Michael realizing God, God has realized Michael. Or I should say, there is no one to... Rather than Michael realizing God, God has realized it is a Michael. That's a little more accurate way to say it. Please do this for yourself right now. This won't make any sense until you look for yourself and discover what I am talking about. Just do it. Eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. Make this movement prior I am describing without any effort whatsoever. There cannot be any effort. This will seem very difficult, for everything we do in life involves effort. But what I am talking about can't have any effort at all. If you try, you will fail. If you find yourself trying, then bring back the inquiry, who is trying? Can you turn your attention around and find the one who is trying? Again, you will be reminded of the foolishness of the concept, and then effortlessly, spontaneously, move prior to trying, prior to an entity trying. If you feel God in your heart and want to sing His praises, that's great, but misses the point of this teaching. If you feel the joy of God in your heart, move prior to the joy arising. Move prior to a person the joy is arising to. You can't do this if you're an addict or an alcoholic. I've done that. Only if you have been clean and sober for a pretty good while can this work. The core of what got a person addicted is supreme selfishness. And if one is currently abusing their addiction, that underlying selfishness, that underlying extreme attachment to the illusory self, will prevent the ability to make this movement I am describing. God's limitless grace arises in these words, but Michael has no idea what any of this means, nor will this make any sense to you in the slightest. Your attachment to the illusion of who you think you are will paradoxically keep you from making this movement I am describing. In a sense, you are gaslighting yourself. You'd be crazy to believe this nonsense. But then, just move prior to the questioner. When you do, you will move into the eternal, timeless now and the bliss of the unchanging, eternal, limitless, bountiful glory of that which you will later call God will awaken. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Please do the like, share, subscribe thing and comment to help the YouTube algorithm recommend my videos, other people's feed. Maybe other people will find value in the real secret lessons of Freemasonry, and actually the core secret behind the entire world. Thanks again for tuning in. See you next time. Well, I won't see you. You'll see me next time. Thanks.